Hello students. In today's session, let us learn about what are the principles of macroeconomics. To begin on the title topic, let us understand the basic mechanism of economic activity. To discuss on the topic, is there anything common between household and economy? Are household, society and economy the same? Let us understand how at ground level households make decisions. A household faces many decisions. It must decide which member of the household do which task and what each member gets in return. Who cooks dinner? Who does the laundry? Who gets an extra dessert at dinner? Who gets to choose what TV show to watch? In short, the household must allocate its scarce resources among its various members, taking into account each member's abilities, efforts and desires. Now, let us move on to understand about the society. The management of society's resources is important because resources are scarce. Scarcity means that society has limited resources and therefore cannot produce all the goods and services people wish to have. You know, people in society have unlimited wants. To fulfill all their wants, they need to have income, good standard of living, improve their quality living style, to enjoy more leisure, so on and so forth. Just as a household cannot give every member everything he or she wants, as society cannot give every individual the highest standard of living to which he or she might aspire. So, how does the economy drive and guide the people? What is an economy? How has it emerged? Everybody would have heard economy. The word economy comes from the Greek word economos, which means one who manages a household. Therefore, who is in charge of allocating the scarce resources for the economy as a whole? Is there a He-Man, Superman, dedicated leader? Now the question is, who makes decisions for the macro environment as a whole? Is there a dictator, economist, leader? How does an economist link households, society and scarce resources? Economics is a study of how society manages its scarce resources. In most societies, resources are not allocated by an all-powerful dictator, but through the combined actions of millions of households and firms. Economists therefore study how people make decisions, how much they work, what they buy, how much they save, and how they invest their savings. Economists also study how people interact with one another. For instance, they examine how the multitude of buyers and sellers of a good together determine the price at which the good is sold and the quantity that is sold. Finally, economists analyze forces and trends that affect the economy as a whole, including the growth in average income, the fraction of population and cannot find work, and the rate at which prices are rising. Hope you are clear with macro decision making environment and who are involved in the process. Now let us move on to understand what are the objectives of macro principles. Today's session we focus on to understand ground level working of economic activity from a household and society point of view, to relate the household and society with economic activity at macro level, to integrate society, household with that of macro economy through people participation, to explore the various principles of macroeconomics and decision making process. Now, from the above objectives, the first two objectives we have understood during the introduction. Now, how to understand the rest of the objectives? Let us understand the three dimensions to macro principle. The three dimensions to macro principles are, as you can see there, the flow of interdependency of people and process of decision making in an economy. So what does this image brief us about? How does an economy work? The chart explains about the relationship between people, actions and interactions. It implies there are a set of broad principles that governs the economy, unlike an individual in households. In continuation to the first image, among the three broad integrated principles, first principle is how people make decisions. Now let us understand in depth each of the above principles. People face trade-offs. When people are grouped into societies, they face different kind of trade-offs. Consider parents deciding how to spend their family income. They can buy food, clothing or a family vacation, or they can save some of the family income for retirement or the children's college education. When they choose to spend an extra dollar on one of these goods, they have one less dollar to spend on some other good. Principle 2. The cost of something is what you give up to get it. In many cases, however, the cost of some action is not as obvious as it might first appear. Consider, for example, the decision to go to college. The benefit is intellectual enrichment and a lifetime of better job opportunities. But what is the cost? To answer this question, you might be tempted to add up the money you spend on tuition, books, room and board. Principle 3. Rational people think at the margin. Rational people systematically and purposefully do the best they can to achieve their objectives given the opportunities that they have. Marginal decision making can help explain some otherwise puzzling economic phenomena. Why is water so cheap while diamonds are so expensive? Humans need water to survive while diamonds are unnecessary, but for some reason people are willing to pay much more for a diamond than for a cup of water. The reason is that a person's willingness to pay for any good is based on the marginal benefit. In turn, depends on how many units a person already has. Principle 4. People respond to incentives. Incentives is something induces a person to act because a rational people make decisions by comparing costs and benefits. They respond to incentives. Incentives are crucial to analyzing how markets work. Public policy makers should never forget about incentives because many policies change the costs or benefits that people face and therefore alter their behavior. For instance, consider public policy regarding auto safety. The relevant behavior here is the speed and care with which the drivers operate their cars. How people interact. Principle 5. Trade can make everyone better off. Trade allows countries to specialize in what they do best and to enjoy a greater variety of goods and services. American and Japanese firms produce many of the same goods. Ford and Toyota compete for the same customers in the market for automobiles. Apple and Sony compete for the same customers in the market for digital music players. Principle 6. Markets are usually a good way to organize economic activity. In a market economy, the decisions of a central planner are replaced by the decisions of millions of firms and households. Prices or firms and self-interest households decide guide their decisions. Principle 7. Governments can sometimes improve market outcomes. Two broad reasons for a government to intervene in the economy and change the allocation of resources: to promote efficiency and to promote equity. That is, most policies aim either to enlarge the economic pie or to change how the pie is divided. How the economy as a whole works. Principle 8. Last three principles covers the workings of the economy as a whole. Changes in living standards over time are also large. Almost all variation in living standards is attributable to differences in countries' productivity. That is, the amount of goods and services produced from each hour of a worker's time. Principle 9. Prices rise when the government prints too much money. Persistent inflation, the culprit is growth in the quantity of money. Association of growth, inflation and quantity of money are highly influential to one another. Principle 10. Society faces a short-run trade-off between inflation and unemployment. Higher demand may over time cause firms to raise their prices, but in the meantime, it also encourages them to increase the quantity of goods and services they produce and to hire more workers to produce those goods and services. Short-run trade-off simply means that over a period of year or two, many economic policies push inflation and unemployment in opposite directions. This short run plays a key role in the analysis of the business cycle. The irregular and largely unpredictable fluctuations in economic activity as measured by the production of goods and services or the number of people employed. Policy makers can exploit the short run trade-off between inflation and unemployment using various policy instruments. By changing the amount that the government spends, the amount it taxes and the amount of money it prints, policy makers can influence the combination of inflation and unemployment that the country experiences. Hope you have got a good insight on the topic, principles of macroeconomics. Until we meet again, bye.